Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Remko Rinkema, and today I am joined by two guests for the very first time on this Run It Back show. You can see him on the screen, the real MJ Poker, Mr. MJ Gonzales, and of course, BP22, Mr. Bill Perkins, not from a boat this time, which is a giant miracle, giant miracle. Guys, we are diving into High Stakes Feud today. We are going to watch some Doug versus Daniel. Obviously, I feel like the match that kicked off this crazy era of tons of high-stakes matches, grudge matches, whatever you want to call them. MJ, you got some action going on. Bill, you got some action coming up. That is the first thing I want to ask about. Bill, you got sent to bed with, significant loss versus Doug Polk, as you tweeted about. How are we feeling? Are we ready for Landon?
I don't know if I'm ready for Landon. I feel good about my progress. I'm getting better every day. I decided to just play speed poker with Doug to get some practice in. Doug has a lot of pressure. He has some similarities to Landon in terms of putting pressure on people. So I just kind of wanted to play against somebody who's very good in that style, and then see how I reacted to that. Was I on model? Was I off model? If I deviated from on model, was I doing well or not? And I know he's a favorite. I know I'm going to get spanked, but I made some egregious Bill Perkins types of mistakes. And I'm gonna have to learn to put a governor on those things. But I was pleased with how I played, except for those what the hell is he doing moments.
I will say Perkins is a completely different human from even 2.5 months ago. When we put in more work in the past month and a half than he has in the past 3 years. So for the first time, I can actually say he gives a shit and he's trying.
Wow.
Yeah. Egos are a powerful thing. And also, I mean, it's kind of a nod to heads up poker. It's just so much action and it's much faster. You're not sitting there in a ring having to fold. You get to play 80% of the time instead of folding 80% of the time, whatever.
Yeah, there's nowhere to hide, right?
Yeah.
You can't hide anywhere.
Right.
Everything will be exposed in a very short time frame.
So Bill, let me ask you. I've seen you on every poker show imaginable. I've seen you in big tournaments. I've seen you in big cash games. All of a sudden now you're in the heads up streets. Landon, of course, threw out a really exciting bet for you. Is this the first time you're truly motivated to improve your game, or have you always been studying in the background?
I've been motivated to improve my game, but the level of motivation, just to throw a little bit of difficulty on there, and I'm abandoning ship, right? I'm like, wait, it's warm waters, we're going boating. It hasn't been kind of like I'm going to move this up the priority ladder. And because of this challenge and Landon, thank you for actually framing that to actually getting my ego, whatever it is. I feel hungry enough to move it up the priority chain. I do have a complex life with a lot of things going on, employees, businesses, kids, family, fiance, friends, etc., and other interests. But I've been pretty pleased with my ability to squeeze in study and playtime. And I think also the fact that it's enjoyable. It's fun to learn at this pace of a game and get into these scenarios every single hand, et cetera. And there's a plethora of people who, for some edge, they'll play you, right? They will play you, right? And so I enjoy it. And I'm one of those guys that professionals, they seek out people who are worse than them to play them, right? But I'm the guy that's like, I want to play the best, right? When you play chess, it's really not that fun playing somebody who's significantly worse than you, right? You're not getting better, you're not learning, et cetera. So the competitive nature in me is like, I want to play the best, right? I want to see what I can do. I want to see what I'm made of, right? Is this significant enough for me? Is there enough ego or money or whatever it is on the line that I will snap out of my other routines and try and excel in a field that that's not my primary line of business or focus.
Right. MJ, what's it like to have a student that when the water gets warm, he just wants to splash around?
I mean, look, we've known from day one that Bill Perkins is going to do Bill Perkins things. And so he set a very early precedent of look, if it doesn't get in the way of my priorities and me creating these memory dividends, I'm in. But the second that the things on my priority list get in the way, you guys are going to be on hold. And so we knew, for when he wrote his book, there was a few month time lapse of just like, no, you know what, boys, I'm busy, I don't have time, or like, hey, it's 1 a.m., let's fire off a couple hands right now, and that's okay. Like we're not here to be slave drivers. Like it is what it is. Like at his leisure, we do it. And for the last 2.5 months, it's been 5-6 days a week.
Wow, that's really impressive. MJ, another question I have for you. Is there such a thing as poker talent, or can all of this be learned, retained, and applied?
Yes and no, right? As far as like knowledge set of heuristics and foundations and frameworks of the game, yeah, everyone can learn that. Absolutely. I mean, that's the main part about poker that people didn't seem to really understand is like in poker, there are nodes, right? There are lines, bet, check, check, bet, bet, check, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the way that you don't just play poker, right? And that's how you get better. You'll learn some through osmosis for sure, but understanding the heuristics for each node, that's how you retain fundamental ideas and theoretically sound executions. That's how you really internalize the information of this game. So like fully understanding like, okay, in a bet check line on the turn, my heuristic, my in stone rules are X, Y, and Z. And once I understand that, and then I can apply, how does my range function? What are my frequencies? What's my bluffing frequency? What's my betting frequency, et cetera? What's my opponent's range, and how are they correlated? Then you start to have a much better and deeper understanding of how the mechanics actually function in this game. I mean, this game goes incredibly deep. So I think in the very beginning it was wits, right? It's just me versus you. I just don't think you have it, son. To now it's a science. It's just a mathematical proven science that it's like, no, there are actual heuristics to this game.
For the people that are just tuning in, I am joined by Bill Perkins and MJ Gonzales to talk a little bit about heads-up poker, heads-up challenges, grudge matches, and all the good stuff that comes along with this pandemic year in which playing one-on-one seemed to be the safest route. We are watching High Stakes Feud. All of this available, of course, on PokerGO and on the GG Poker YouTube channel. You can watch all the online action that went on between Doug and Daniel as Mr. Negreanu paid about $1.2 million to get coached by Doug Polk for an extended period of time here during the fall and winter. You guys watching on Twitch, on Facebook, and on YouTube, we are live. Send in your questions if you have them. Share with your friends, hit like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. We'll be here for quite a while, breaking down some hands and just having some general fun. Fun, Bill, that's the question I want to ask you next. Is it fun to know, like, oh, okay, this is the Jack 9 offsuit. Usually I'd be in here mixing it up, but right now I got to listen to what I've learned. Is there still fun in there for you? Because I know you ultimately play this game to have fun.
Yeah, I mean, well, the way I see it, and this could be incorrectly, like there's, the more I play GTO, right, I need to know the fundamentals and the heuristics. It's still fun because you're learning, and I think learning is fun, right? But you're really watching poker, you're not playing poker, right? It just happens to you, right? You have these frequencies, you roll your random number generator or use whatever you do, and you do the action for the scenario, right? So it's a lot of like understanding these scenarios, rolling it, and you really aren't making decisions. The fun part comes in is like when you understand what you're supposed to be doing and what they're supposed to be doing, and you figure out how they're unbalanced, you get to attack that unbalance, right? And you get to figure out, wow, he's really unbalanced. Is he learning? Let me do it a little bit more. He's still not learning. Let me do a little more. Let me not do it too much because I don't want him to learn, etc. And so that cat and mouse game, as he reacts to you exploiting him and back and forth, that's a lot of fun. Learning's fun. But, you can get bored if I was like, let's say I was the GTO god of bots. I knew it would just be boring. It'd just be role play. It'd be like, it'd be very mechanical, even though there was variance in the die and how they were rolled.
Let me give you an example of what Perkins is actually talking about. So, Remko, let's say that I am the world's worst rock, paper, scissors player in the world. Okay? I throw paper 100% of the time. Okay? What do you think the strategy for a GTO approach for rock, paper, scissors is?
A third each time.
Perfect. So I'm the world's worst. I throw paper 100% of the time. You can be considered one of the world's best. You're one-third, one-third, one-third balanced GTO approach. You're hitting equilibrium. Who's going to win versus me and you?
You're going to win 30% of the time whenever I throw a rock. The rest of the time, I'm going to win.
Okay, so then what happens then with our match?
Oh, it's hugely in my favor. It's basically 66 to 33.
No, it's not. We're actually breaking even.
Really?
So a third of the time I'm going to win, a third of the time you're going to win, and a third of the time we're going to chop.
Oh, right? Yeah, of course.
So that's the difference of applying just a pure theoretical standpoint, an equilibrium or GTO approach, to someone that doesn't either understand GTO or misapplies GTO. So how you beat them, right, is you minimally exploit them. So then you can throw like a 30-30-40, right? Where the key point here is you're not teaching me my mistakes. Because if someone came in here, I can't tell you how many professional poker players I've had this conversation with. They're like, well, if you throw paper 100%, I'm going to throw rock 100%. And I go, okay, well, we can both agree that me throwing paper 100% is beyond tragic, right? And they said, yes. So I go, well, so is your counter. You're just doing the same thing I'm doing, right? So we don't want to teach our opponent, because not only do we teach our opponent why they suck and they can adjust, but once they adjust, you now can be exploited.
Right.
So there's a big difference. And this is why we're called hybrid poker. We believe that, for example, we believe that GTO is the foundation of your household. But no one goes to your house for a barbecue and compliments your foundation on your household. I've been to Perkins' house. I've never once fucking said, yo, your foundation is legit. Never once, right? But that's GTO. All the fancy stuff, that's the exploitative stuff, right? So, but you can't deviate to exploit to an accurate degree without having the fundamental baseline of GTO knowledge, right? So they both play hand in hand, and this is why we're called hybrid poker.
Right.
You need a hybrid of both.
Yeah. And for me, it's still fascinating because the GTO side of it is like it's like infinitely complex, right? And you're trying to humanize it. So, the fun is in the fascination of like, oh, wow, right? Like, oh, I see what's going on here, understanding the game tree and learning about it and, using words that you normally wouldn't use with poker, like, I think he's just a fish. He's a bluffer. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. Like, instead of just doing that at time, that's very fascinating and that's entertaining for me. Like, I have a saying that after your basic needs are met, everything else is entertainment. Whether you study astrophysics, poker, or watch movies, it's just another form of entertainment. It's not a necessity. And poker is just one of those. It's really, really fun learning and a lot of entertainment. And then the playing aspects of, applying, the deviation that MJ's talking about it and understanding the game at a deeper level and playing at a deeper level is a lot of fun. A lot of discussions, a lot of debates, it's great.
So Perkins brings up a very interesting point that I don't want people to miss. Effectively what he's saying, the fun aspect, is the easification of learning such a complex game. Like as soon as I start talking to you about counterfactual regret minimization, 99.9% of players are gonna be like, what? That's boring, okay, right? So Perkins brought on a very good point. The humanization of this information, being able to bucket it in a way that a human can retain and apply. And that's what we really focused on from day one of the company. And it's so important to have an easification and a fun aspect. Otherwise, like you're not going to retain nearly as much. Like on an average 1 hour session of coaching, the client will retain 30%. And then so the next session, you're now going to try to make up that 70%. And this is why coaching on an hourly basis, I just personally think is unethical. I don't think it's great. I think it's a poor setup because you're just kind of regurgitating things that you missed prior, and it just takes such a longer path to get to where you want to get. But easification and humanization is absolutely key to excelling at this game at an elite level.
Right. For the people who are just tuning in and wondering, why are these guys talking so much? There's poker on TV. Well, we are just having this high stakes feud as a backdrop to this conversation about heads up poker, about what Bill is about to do and send Landon Tice back to where he came from, which clearly is what he's going for. But if you have any questions for Bill, for MJ, or myself, please send them in. We will dive into some hands later in the show of the Doug versus Daniel match. By the way, for those unaware who are tuning in for the very first time, MJ was the coach of Daniel Negreanu during his challenge, hybridpoker.com. Go check it out. That's his platform. Bill Perkins is now being coached by Mr. MJ because he is getting ready for a big heads-up match against Landon Tice, the new kid on the block. MJ, when you heard the number thrown out there by Landon, giving Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, 6 big blinds per 100. Nine big blinds per 100. See, there we go. I'm bad at math. Brent Hanks pointed it out already. 9 big blinds per 100 hands in this heads-up format. What was your first thought?
It's fucking atrocious. It's absolutely atrocious. Like, look, it's setting a precedent that hasn't been done, right? It's having an effect on the ecosystem for professional and recreational. Laying 9 BBs per 100 is not good by any means, right? Like, yes, there's a chance Landon can still win, of course, but that's a very, very wide margin. I mean, variance alone in heads-up poker, it seems to be that not many people really understand how deep variance can really go. And it's not like variance that you're going to see in, ring game, right? You're not going to see that many hands. Well, in heads up, variance happens very quickly. You're playing so many hands. So him laying 9 BBs per 100, it's a Herculean task. It's not impossible. It can be done, but it's fucking strong.
Yeah. First of all, I thought it was great. Me and the regs thought it was great. Like you said, we set a standard. Like, hey, you want to play us fishies? Give us 9 big blinds or 10 big blinds or whatever. But also, I think, from their perspective, like seeing me play poker for so many years and seeing the progression, right? Like it doesn't seem as great to them, right? Because obviously when we're on TV, right, we're playing our TV game, right? And we're splashing and we're having a lot of fun. And so, and I'm also, they can look at my life. They can see that very busy. I wrote a book about, enjoying your life and maximum fulfillment. So they're like, how much is he really going to study, right? Like how, embedded in that is how much effort will Bill put in and what are the tools available for him to learn, right? So there's kind of mystery inside hybrid poker, like, we've seen coaches or whatever, they can only bring you so far in a short period of time. Matthew Gonzales and Matthew Boyd, MJ, they are learning specialists, right? Not just poker coaches, right? And they are accelerating my learning in a very complex game, right? And I think they kind of misjudged that, So even if Landon is God, the GTO bot, that's what I'm going to assume. He's going to come in playing like God. I'm going to quickly close the gap between myself and God. Right. That's the bet. That is literally the bet from my optic. Right. I'm not talking shit about Landon. I'm not saying his game is bad. I'm assuming he's the absolute freaking greatest in the world. And I need to close that gap inside 9 big blinds per 100. And that's the wager. So I like it. I think it's fun. And you know what? Sometimes, MJ said it's atrocious, but sometimes you got to give the fans what they want. Give the people what they fucking want. They want to see blood in the streets, either mine or his. So let's give it to them.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to Landon. I mean, he's got balls. It's great, And I think it's just a smart move for his career. The amount of eyeballs that are going to be on this match because of the price he was willing to lay, right? Like, if he wins, he fucking deserves every ounce of it, right? And if he loses, maybe his eyes were bigger than his stomach, back to the drawing board and do it again.
Right. I just want to call out one quick thing. We're all three of us are wearing backwards caps. If that's some kind of sign to the gods, I'm not sure. But this is a good look that we got going on. I got some questions coming in on all the platforms. I'm going to get to those questions in just a second. But Bill, when I saw this challenge being thrown out there by Landon, 9 big blinds per 100 for those who are just tuning in, you know what my first thought was? My first thought was, no matter how good Bill gets, no matter how good Bill studies, what ultimately matters is how interested you stay in playing and applying what you've learned. So I'm not worried about the first 100 hands or the second 100 hands. I'm worried about the end game here. That's what I'm worried about. So no matter how good you get, it's about how willing are you to apply it as the match goes on. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I mean, I said this publicly, and I'll just say it again here on your show, that the easiest way to beat best a rec, right, is to play at stakes that are not significant to them, right? That doesn't matter. Right. Where they have other things going on in life or whatever, that it's at a lower priority, because it would, you take a lot of time and fuck it. I remember the mini one drop where I came in third. I actually tried to go out of the hand or double. Like I called off with like a ridiculous non-calling off hand on a shove just because I miss my daughters and I want to go home and this thing is lasting too long, I happened to double and I was like, shit, now I got to play poker, right? And so embedded in there is kind of like, there's different types of discipline. Will he go to his, I don't believe you got it, son, calling station ways, right? And go off script, right? Will he get tilted and all these other things you have to discipline yourself? And will he just get bored, right? Bored is a form of tilt. Like, oh, I mean, I'm missing out, or oh, I really don't want to be here. And this, my attention span is going away. And, this other shiny thing I can learn, right? In my life. And so I'm here to give the people a good show. And I played Doug last night 10 hours of speed poker, and put in long things. And my coaches, we battle, and we're battling, and I'm taking it very seriously at very low stakes to learn. And I feel like I'm training that muscle of endurance, right? So, I'm not the computer, and Landon won't be the computer, right? But I just can only speak about myself. Like, I'm like, hey, this is an endurance race as well. It'd be great. Yeah, you play the first 5 sessions, the first 5,000 hands, but we got 15,000 more to go, son. You're not even a third of the way there. So I need to build up all those muscles in order to prevail, right? And then I also am going to need a little bit of luck on my side, because like, as MJ says, like, you put it into a variance calculator, right? I could easily lose just on a bad run, even with 9 big blinds per 100, and nobody would be the wiser. So we're both going to need a little bit of luck, and we're both going to need some discipline.
MJ, let me ask you this. From a student perspective, compare Daniel, the Hall of Famer, the bracelets, all the poker skill and all the poker training at his starting point when you started coaching him, versus Bill, who's played a lot of poker, who puts it in, who loves swinging it around and, has success with that every now and then, but comes at the game from a very, very different perspective. What's it like to coach those two extremes?
It's funny. That's actually an interesting question, because Daniel was a bit harder to coach initially because he had all that success. He had, some bad habits and mistakes and a lot to make up for, because he had so much knowledge in his head, right? Bill is more of an unmolded piece of clay. He didn't have as many mistakes because he didn't know very fucking much. When I first met Perkins, I mean, quite literally, he might have been the biggest whale I've ever met, ever. And, had we done this 2 years ago, he'd be drawing dead. But now Perkins is his level of progress in the amount of time that we've had with him has been unreal. Now, Daniel's progress was incredibly impressive. Now, we governed Daniel. So I want to get this like incredibly straight, right? Like, we only gave him a few sizes to use. Out of all the sizes, we gave him 2. This is what you're focusing on, because he didn't have much time to practice. Bill has a lot more time to practice. So we're starting him off with more sizes, with sharper and accurate sizes. So with Daniel, it was much harder. But as soon as Daniel started to master those 2 sizes, I mean, we opened the gate and said, okay, here's everything. Let's fucking go. And then halfway through the match, Daniel really started to come into his own. He really started to understand concepts. Yeah, he made some mistakes, but come on, he's been playing heads up for 2 months at the time. Like, it's unreal for him to only lose 1.2 million to Doug in that amount of time. Yeah, there's a ton of variance, but that's not a lot of money. From where he started to where he is now, it's unreal. So what I would think with Perkins, I think Perkins is going to be slightly better prepared because he had more time. And I think throughout the time of the match, Perkins is going to accelerate at levels which people are going to underestimate. Absolutely.
Right. And then it's kind of baked into my version of like how I'm going to be successful, because God can only be God, right? Like, so Landon's God. And I'm like, okay, you're not getting any better. You're already, I'm the only one here that can get better, right? And keep getting better. And so, I've been also fortunate in other areas of my life, and at least for the month of May, I don't have that much going on. And like, I got night owls for coaches, right? They're available. So if I want to battle, we can get some battles. And we, I think we've played, how many hands have I played, so far?
With me or total?
Total, like kind of you.
25K hands?
What's that?
25K hands?
So we played 25,000 hands, and, what percentage of those were significant spots that we've reviewed to the river?
60%?
Yeah.
70%?
Yeah. So, I mean, they've built a platform and software, et cetera, that it's not sacrificing accuracy for speed, but it's basically a pre-solved method, and that we're able to go through, math is hard, 13,000 hands or whatever, right? Like 13,000 hands. That's a lot of freaking hands to the river that even if I didn't get it the first time, the second time, the third time, by the 10th time, it's starting to osmose into this brain and be part of like muscle memory, right? So, the game is quick. There's timers, etc. I don't have time to go, well, I bet here, I'm here in my range. This is the fold frequency, blah, 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 whatever. Like a lot of that, we don't want to do shortcuts yet, but there's, I'm starting to get like kind of just an intuition for all these heuristics, right? That doesn't mean that I'm not making I'm always going to make mistakes. Everybody's going to make mistakes, right? Nobody's God. Landon's God in this scenario, right? So, but they're getting less, they're getting better, and they're getting less egregious. And I think it's down to most of my mistakes aren't learning mistakes. Like it's not like I don't know what the right way to think about this thing is and the right way to go through it. Most of the mistakes are I just ignore it because I'm in a spot and I'm like, fuck it. You know what I mean? And I got to get rid of that fuck it. Right.
If you want to tell you, Perkins, I can tell them exactly. I mean, half of it is on board, fuck it, and half of it is Perkins has the heuristic down. He can explain it to you. He can teach it to you. He can argue it and debate. But it goes deeper. When you play at an elite level, there is the heuristic and the framework. But it goes deeper. It goes into the combinatorics. It goes into suit strats. It goes into all these things. And that ocean runs deep. So he has now broke the surface of the heuristic, and now he's going down to the core of the earth of like all the super details of these spots. And so now he's starting to learn those. So no one faults him for not understanding the deepest depths of the heuristic, right? As long as he is understanding where he's at now, he is on pace to be a fucking killer.
Yeah, so that leads into my next question, MJ. And Bill, this is kind of like, a student-teacher meeting. You're in the room, but I'm asking the teacher how the student is doing. So MJ, put this into maybe stakes contest or a context, or maybe online versus live. What level is Bill playing at right now? For all our viewers who are like, yes, this all sounds great. Yes, he's getting a lot better. But compare this to what I play. Compare this into the real world.
So Bill plays a few different stakes, and I'll tell you why. So when Bill plays against me, we're playing 500 1K or 1K 2K. We care a lot. It means more than any money we could play for. We play for pride, competitiveness, ego, like gotcha, fuck you, I got this, whatever. We as deep and as hard as you can play, that's how Perkins and I play. So you can equate that to 1K, 2K, or 500 1K. Now the real stakes that we're actually playing, the dollar value, we're playing like $1, $2. It's just to get reps in.
Right.
And then Perkins will play a couple other people at 100, 200, 200, 400 with a multiplier in the smaller stakes private tables.
Right.
So Perkins' smallest game technically is going to be 1-2, but there's a lot more than that riding on it. And then aside from that, his actual smallest game will be like 1-2 or 2-4.
Right. So then from a real world perspective, if you equate skill to stakes, are we making our way up the stakes? And of course, we have to take out of our thinking here, when it matters for Bill, as far as from a money perspective. But like, if he rocks up to an online cash game or to a live game, like, is he beating all the games at this point?
In heads up or in ring?
I mean, heads up. That's what we're practicing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily equate stakes to skill.
I know but that's a question that keeps coming up. What stakes could Bill beat?
I think Bill can beat 10-20. I think he can beat 10-20 regs pretty easily, and I think he'd be competitive at 25-50 right now. And I don't want people to really put too much weight into that answer, right? Because there's a lot of variables that go into it.
Right.
But yeah, I would say 10-20 he's comfortably beating for sure.
And I want to handicap that, man, because I know me, right? Like if I think I have to be in that mental state where I'm like, I want to compete. Like we're playing 1-2. doesn't mean anything. I'm fucking pissed. If I, you know what I mean? Afterwards, not during, I'm like, whatever. But like, I'm like, if I'm not winning or I'm making mistakes and I'm not winning EV, even if I win, it's fun to like taunt like I won this hand. But when we do hand review, it's like, oh, you did the wrong thing, but you got the right result. I'm upset. Right. And I'm like, wait, run that again. What about this thing? You know, change the stack sizes. What if it was, you know, like I'm very into it. Right. And so that's Bill playing his A game. Right. So I think everybody has their A game, their B game, and their D, you know, their D or F fuck around game. Right. So,
I mean, what people need to realize is there's different kinds of mistakes, right? There's frequency mistakes and there's EV mistakes. And so when Bill makes a frequency mistake, that doesn't cost as much. When he makes an EV mistake, we fucking slap his wrist and he takes it seriously. Right. Yeah. So like, people need to realize, like, for the viewers that are starting out in poker or on the playing lower stakes, there are absolutely different types of mistakes you can make in poker. And knowing the difference between the two is vital to excelling.
Right. So we've you know, my like, if I was doing a self-assessment, we've like eliminated a lot of just direct EV mistakes. Not like I'm not still making them, right? Like, Bill, what the fuck are you doing here? Like this, you know what I mean? I know you flop top set, but like it's a fold by the river after the scenario, you know, like those type of mistakes. And then there's, you know, frequency mistakes where they're like, you got to roll this. You can't just be, because you got a gutter and an over and a thing, check raising every single freaking time you get the hand. You know, even though you get the hand infrequently, you still got to put a governor to tame, you know, your natural aggression, right? And those frequency mistakes. And I'm just pointing out one of many types of frequency mistakes you can do. And sometimes, there, you know, it's not all just aggressive mistakes. Like my my C-bet frequency was too low over the last 5,000 hands. They're like, you're not betting enough trash. We need to look at your range construction, and you know, you need to do X, Y, and Z. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Let's steer away from your mistakes.
Yeah, let's not talking about those things in the game, whatever. But like, you know, we look at they look at my game under a microscope,
right?
Of every, you know, of all the relevant spots and kind of where I'm unbalanced and why I'm unbalanced, and like cracking open my head and be like, but why, right? You know, kind of the solve for why type thing. You know, Berkey thing is like, what is going on in your head that you're doing this thing? Why are you thinking this way? You know X, Y, and Z. Where are you making a mistake? So, you know, talking about like how good I am is you know, it's who shows up that day,
yeah,
right? What is my motivation? And there, but just my baseline understanding of the game, the knowledge versus the application. The knowledge is going up ridiculously, right? Like at the top levels. The application is coming, but it's definitely lagging, right? And I think that's going to be true for everybody, right? Like I think that even the most elite poker players in the world, the fun thing about this game is that, you know, it's like, yeah, I understand golf. You hit the thing and you put it over here, and I really understand the game. And you want to avoid the sand trap, and if you get the sand trap, you kind of want to hold your club this way. Then you got to apply it, right? That's the right, and so that's kind of where it is. So I think I'm good,
right?
You know, I'm not afraid of anyone really, you know, and I have an understanding of how much I should be leaking versus the type of mistakes I'm making.
I mean, you must be getting afraid at this point to never get an invite again on High Stakes Poker with all the stuff you've learned.
Well, this is a different game, and honestly, this is funny because of my personality, and like I would say, like one of my greatest character flaws is impatience. I'm an impatient guy, and so that's one of the beasts I have to tame. Like I'm actually going to put a note up in front of my computer while I'm playing. There's always another hand. Win EV. Like that is going up in front of me, right? Because I'm just like, no, I got to win this hand, and I'm going to do whatever I have to do to win this hand, right? Like that beast comes out of me. But when I'm on Ring now, it's heads up is ruining my love of Ring games. It seems so slow, and I'm already impatient.
I got a text at like 2 a.m. a couple days ago from Perkins. I'm playing this silly fucking game. I'm fucking bored. It's too fucking nitty. I'm fucking out of here. Heads up has ruined me.
Oh my God.
And this is not a nitty game. They're splashing and doing shit or whatever. But to me, I'm just like, I fucking have to fold so many freaking hands. I can't take it. I'm going to pull my eyelashes out, right? Yeah. And so, you know, one aspect of my game is getting better. and it's the knowledge of another game is still there, but it's like I just can't help myself. It's just like I'm gonna explode. You know,
it's a funny point that you say that, Bill. So Remko, I think it's actually really important. I have a theory. I have a feeling that most high stakes players that play heads up will agree with this. If you're learning poker, if you're trying to get better at poker, if you're playing the lower stakes, if you're just starting out, it doesn't matter. I honestly believe the route to go is to learn heads up first. The heuristics and frameworks post-flop. The biggest differentials, there are differentials post-flop, but the biggest differentials are pre-flop. Those are easy to understand, right? But the heuristics that you're going to be learning and applying and the mechanics of the game post-flop will absolutely guide you with ease through post-flop of full ring. I can't stress this enough. If you want to get good or just starting out, learn heads up first. It will make your transition into full ring and your knowledge set so much deeper.
Yeah, but you'll just be bored to death, and you might kill yourself and commit satsui.
You're a fucking billionaire, but if you're a normal human,
no, I mean, like really, like I mean, think about it. Like think about the number of actions and decisions and neurons firing and heads up versus fold. Watch two fucking guys battle it out. You know, whatever, tanking. You know what I mean? Like, oh my god. You know what I mean? Like it's like,
yes, Bill, but you're forgetting that 99% of poker players are playing to earn money. Not because they're fucking bored on a Thursday.
Oh man.
Touche.
I have two very specific questions. One for you, MJ. One for you, Bill. Bill, I'll start with you. When this challenge became public, in your non-poker circles, or let's call them poker adjacent, you know, maybe some guys you guys and girls you've met, how did they react to you taking up this monumental task of getting to become a world-class player at a game that, in the grand scheme of your life, #DieWith0 is pretty meaningless, because you know all the things you do are so big, and now you decide to invest so much time and energy into this thing called poker. How did the outside world in your circles react to that?
Well, Lara was kind of pissed. She was like, oh wait, another thing. You told me. Lara goes. She goes. You told me this summer make no plans, because we just went through a pandemic. I like, for me, like, why do you live? It's like my kids, blah, blah, blah. But for the things you love to do, it's travel, right? So I said, hey, I you know, we have a clerk and we track all the COVID. I was like, summer's going to open up for sure. I'm very confident of that. I don't care if there's a wedding, a bar mitzvah, or whatever. Tell your friends we're not going if it's the summer, right? We're going to, you know, clear the slate. And then all of a sudden I signed up for this match, and she's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? I'm like, babe, I can do it. I'll go find some times. It's only whatever, X, Y, and Z. And, you know, I had conversations with Landon. So that whole thing, that dynamic that I had with Lara is the same thing with my friends. So like, listen, we've known you your whole life. You're capable of incredible shit, right? But your priorities, you know what I mean? You got many conflicting priorities. And you're also impatient and et cetera. So like, we don't know, you know, which bill is going to show up. Right. And honestly, if I'm being honest with myself, that was a question for me. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm saying the words, but really what bill is going to show up. Right. And so they had the same reaction that I was having internally. You know, Lara had the what the fuck, right? But that's kind of their reaction. You know, it's like, yeah, you can do it, but are you? Do you really want to? Or you're saying some shit, but like, is it really going to matter at the end of the day? You know, if you lose this match, if you net lose 200 grand, are you really going to be like worried or whatever? Is that really going to motivate you? Is your desire to compete in this game, is it really strong enough to govern all your other things and put it in the right framework? So that's, they just have a lot of questions, right? You know?
But then, like,
I'll be honest, when he first came to us with this match, me and Matt, my partner, were like, what the fuck? Because we're getting ready for our own heads up matches, right? That are huge. And we just got done with Daniel for fucking 5.5 months. And we were just like, okay, dude, if you're going to fight, only if you take it seriously, we'll fucking do it. And he was like, look, man, I'm not going to speak about it. I'm just going to fucking do it. I said, all right, cool.
That's crazy. But, Bill, in like the trading circles and stock market circles, and I'm sure you're in crypto circles, how do those people and friends that are in business react to you having so much passion and dedication to a card game?
I think the people that know me that are in that, they know I'm addicted to puzzles. I like solving things. One of my favorite things in trading is why guess when we can know. I'm a fundamental trader, so I will ask. I always say the real value is asking the questions. Then we just go fucking nuts trying to figure out the answer, using every resource until the economics of finding out the answer are not worth finding out the answer. And I'm, that's kind of me. So it's really kind of like just one of another of things that I'm doing in their mind. Like, oh, he wrote a book, he did this Thirst Lounge thing, he's playing poker, he's making AI insurance products for insurance companies, he's trading gas, now he's punting and phenol. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're like, this is just kind of in his bucket of things he likes to do and puzzles he likes to solve, but we just don't know how high our priority this thing is. We know it's fun, but fun things go overboard when higher priorities come in, right? Like, and so, it's like something happens with my daughter. Is like I got to pick up. I'm like everything stops, gone, right? Like right. That's it. It's warm weather season in Europe, and and it's July, whatever. And Landon, most of the negotiations of this thing is like, are we going to finish before the World Series of Poker? And what's the frequency? And it's like, listen, I'm not committing to this. I will commit to learning. I will do whatever, but like, and I want to give people this, and I'm going to do my best, but nobody's taking my goddamn summer. Right. No, I got 36 years left on this planet, right? The party is now for me. Like if you're 22, 25, you can delay gratification. The party can be in your 30s. It can be in your 40s. I'm 52. The party's fucking now. So that's the competing interest that's going on that I'm trying to, that I'm figuring out. And my friends are like, is he really going to take it this seriously? I know he wants to learn and I know he's capable and whatever, but is he going to be disciplined enough to do it? And that's kind of generally their reaction basically with anything is like, where does this fit in his priorities? Because we believe in his capabilities, right? The people who are close to me. Mm-hmm. There might be people like, fuck it, he's not capable of doing that. Fuck him. You know what I mean? And they might be right. I don't know, but I'm going to try.
I can't wait to see how this plays out. I'm honestly stoked. MJ, a lot of questions coming in about you. Who's this MJ guy? Where did he come from? What's his online name? What gives him the right to say all this shit? And people asking about the challenges that you're involved in. So, we can take this in reverse order because you said you have challenges going on that are also coming up. So, give the people some insight into your own play as it pertains to some of these matches.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll address who I am first and foremost. I play high stakes poker. I've been playing professionally for a long time. I've flown under the radar on purpose, been playing in private games primarily. I first started playing publicly, like as far as the limelight is concerned, in the 2018 or 19 World Series, the series before COVID. And I was drafted by Daniel Negreanu on his 25K fantasy league. And no one knew who I was, so I went for $1, which is the lowest you can go for. And,
which was awesome. We fucking crushed it with that.
Yeah. And, we had a lot of side bets and prop bets, and I won $1 million at the series. I think I tabled 3 final tables and cashed 14 events or something like that. I was at the top of Daniel's team. And then me and my partner, we've just been developing our product, still playing in private games and working with clientele on the higher end private side. And then, all of our Bill and a couple of other notable clients, sat us down and were like, no, dude, stay private. There's no need to go public right now. You're going to blow up your private game spots. This isn't about ego. This is about money. This is about a good product. Take your time. And then we reached the point finally where, again, they sat us down and said, look, it's time to go public. The product's almost fucking done. It's great. Everyone loves it. Let's go. And so now I'm starting to play in the limelight and take on interviews and podcasts, and I'll be playing Dan Smith 501K heads up in Ivy's room on May 2nd. And I'll tweet about it, and some people will say that I'm not going to show up. And to me, you silly motherfuckers, I'm going to be there with bells on. There isn't a thing that's going to stop me from fucking playing that match. And then I have another match, a 1K 2K match that's going to be on PokerGo against Victor Limitless, who's considered to be one of the greatest online players in the world. And I think that's true in 6max. Don't necessarily think that's true in heads up, but I'm going to fucking find out. I'll tell you that. And as soon as he can magically, conjure up his passport that he lost, then the fucking game is on. And then I'll also be playing another match. Ike Haxton, 501K. And that will be after both of these matches. And Ike agreed, and I agreed. And so we're going to set terms and play then. But I got to be honest with you, man. There's one person I want to play more than anybody, period. I would drop every single match if I can play Phil Ivey heads up. As big as he wants, wherever he wants, I would pitch a tent and I would live at that table. I would not quit, period.
Can you see the marketing going on there, right? Like Phil Ivey, right? The GOAT, right? There's some marketing value in there. Come on now. But listen, I want to also go in there, like them start, like their coaches, right? And they had a product, but I was like, my impatience helped drive like what they're doing right now. I'm like, look, guys, if you're not around, I want to fucking learn, right? Like I can't, the scheduling or whatever. Put all your shit into a program, an app. Do this, do that. Grade me here, whatever. And so, I guess we got a computer guy. Matt Boyd is a computer specialist, also knows poker. He's marrying two distinct skill sets, right? To put this product out where, you're going to have accelerated learning and tracking and ranking and all this other stuff. And they were like, yeah, this is actually a good idea, right? We can leverage our time and teach more people and actually get them learning faster. And so they've been, that's a huge project going on, 14 servers and blah, 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 and all this other kind of stuff, and programming, UI, and wait a minute, this is confusing the way it's explained, and all this other kind of stuff. So, they've been in a cave working on that, and plus the demands of their private clients like me going, dude, let's fucking battle.
Well, it's the same with that. I mean, it got to a point where our private clients were like, look, we don't want you anywhere else. Like, we don't want to work unless you're just private with us. And we're like, okay, you got us. And Perkins is right. I mean, we have 15 servers running 24 hours a day. I mean, we have an enterprise level system going on, right? Like, you'll see a lot of these people run solves these days with their extractions, they're overly simplified. And what I mean by that is their sizing selections are just overly simplified. You're going to get overly simplified solves. And if you're not running the right hardware, the barriers to entry to actually execute on PO in any real depth are fucking huge. Right? So if you don't have the infrastructure to actually support it, you're not going to get accurate solves. And then on top of that, you either go for speed or you go for accuracy. We didn't fucking sacrifice any accuracy for speed. This is why we've been in the fucking cave for a year and a half.
So let me interrupt you right there.
Yeah.
How can this possibly be worth, coming out in public, playing in the limelight, getting your name out there, potentially sacrificing private game action, potentially sacrificing heads-up guys that would obviously play you if they thought you were an unknown quantity? Is it really worth teaching people like myself, or making Alex Foxen a better player, or Steven Chitwick a better player? Is that worth all the time and effort and the potential EV sacrifice?
Well, do you want to be the pizza parlor, or you want to be a Pizza Hut?
I mean,
you know what I mean? Like it's like where's the money made? Is the money made? The question is you can dig for gold or you can sell for shovels. You know what I mean?
Right.
And selling shovels has no variance and makes a fuck ton of money. There's a huge audience and is really big. There's 100 million people in Zinger playing poker.
Right.
Right.
On top of that, there's not really much of an opportunity cost because I'm not losing my seats in my private games like I thought I was going to.
Okay.
I solidified my seats. Right. They know I'm a pro, but they also know I'm going to give you real fucking action. If you want to flip for stacks, I'll flip for stacks. Right. I don't care. Like, I'll straddle any amount that you want. Like, for example, we were playing 100, 200. The game turned into, within 25 minutes, the game turned into 32, 6,400 with a 100K cap. That then turned into, it's a 4K ante per player per hand with a $12,000 all-in or fold for 12 hours straight. You want to talk about variance and gamble. Like, so I've earned my seat.
That's pretty much every private game out there. Every private game starts out simple, small buy-ins, everybody's nice, and next thing you know, people are sitting with $600,000 in front of them.
Right.
What the fuck happened, right?
Once I earned and secured my seats, there was no more opportunity cost. And I was like, you know what? I learned a ton. My partner learned a ton. Our clients learned an enormous amount. Like, what we wanted, and we looked at all the poker coaching companies out there. And some of them are really good, and some of them are fucking atrocious. Sorry. And what we wanted to do is create a one-stop shop that has quite literally everything.
Right. So, I mean, Bill, I'll correct you on this one. The Zynga audience is definitely not this audience. But what I'm curious about is, what is the audience for this? Is this
yeah. I mean, like, what I'm trying to say is like, I'm not thinking big, right? Like, they're playing, so they want to learn. They're interested in the game.
Of course.
So I can go to the narrowest set, or I can develop a product that taps everybody, right? Everybody wants to get good and everybody wants to learn. And the learning business, the learning software business is massive, okay? So you're just thinking poker niche and the pros, et cetera. Yes, that product is designed to satisfy the propeller heads, as I like to affectionately call them, right? All the propeller heads, and to the 15th decimal place, do you do X, Y, and Z, right? It's designed for that. But the humanization of it and the tracking and the easification is so people who don't know poker or just amateur pokers can say, hey, I want to learn and get better.
Right.
In my 50-cent game with my grandpa, making it fun, making it easier to learn. And the easier you make it to learn, the more people come in. So
on top of that, Bill, don't forget, look, at the end of the day, we have software that will be unmatched. And look, I won't say anything more than that. You guys test it out yourself and see, right? And so here's the thing. We have IQ tests that are unlike anything that's ever been. And we can actually tell you your weakest spots, your good spots across the entire game tree. And what we decided to do is when we go public, we're going to take 2 people with the highest scores that aren't in other like major professional elite camps and that aren't, signed to big companies. So everyday poker players, if they score the 2 highest scores, we're going to give them $500,000 backing deals. 2 of them. Immediately, boom, right at the top, $1 million in backing deals for 2 people.
Right. Just going back to the Zenga strategic thing, he's going straight into like what we're doing, right? Like, I'm like, you want to tap the biggest market. A lot of people come to me like, should I play professional poker or should I do X? And I'm just like, what's the cap in X and what's the cap in poker, right? And so we can look at like, and even Doug was talking about this, is like the best poker players tend to be poor because who the fuck's going to play them?
Right. Yeah.
And the thing is, and the thing is capped. So their income is capped, right? And then they're relegated to playing tournaments and, battling people each day, right? And that's basically an hourly wage, right? That's not where the real money is made, right? Like people, 99, most of the rich people, I don't know the percent, so I'm not going to throw it out, but it's not offer an hourly wage how they get rich. And unless you're a football player, or Jamie Dimon or whatever, it's leverage, right? It's systems. It's selling systems to many, many people, right? And so that's the way I'm looking at it. Besides all the bells and whistles, and it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, you guys can be the judge of that. I'm not going to go ahead and brag on that. We're going to put out a product. We're going to test the market, and we want to go to the biggest market possible, because if we can do that, we're actually doing something good for poker instead of bad, where everybody just is wizards, right? We're bringing in new people into the fold.
That is very exciting. I'm seeing some questions coming in, MJ, on what can I learn on hybrid poker? Is it heads up? Is it 6-max? Is it tournaments? Is it cash games?
So for our initial launch and opening, we're going to have 6-max, full ring, 9-handed, and heads up.
Okay, and is that basically one of those 100 big blind reset every hand type deals?
Yeah, in the very beginning, we're going to have 100 BB stacks, and then we're going to, within a few months, we're going to have a lot of different stack sizes for you.
Right.
But we decided that we want to get out soon, and we don't want to keep pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back. We want to launch as soon as we can, and that is because of that, we'll be having 100 BBs for big blind, for heads up, full ring, and 6-max.
Wow, very exciting. Bill, I'm getting lots of questions from the fans, even a text message from people saying, how can I watch your match against Landon? When is it starting? What is happening? How many hours? How many days? What's going on?
Yeah, so we're trying to get that in, and one of the things, like, I want to thank Doug and Daniel for putting on a great show and just kind of reinvigorating the interest in poker and giving us some entertainment while we're all locked away and not doing most of the things that we love. And so Landon and I recognize that, and we want to kind of give the people what they want. We'd like to get the first one live, kind of like PokerGO or going. So we'd like to try and get that going late May. And then the match, it makes most sense to play on ACR just because they're willing to, let you play wherever you are. That's what's going to go on. And, we want to get some streaming in. We want to get some, uh, uh, some talking back and forth, stream with Zoom. I think when Galfond, unfortunately, I even like got booted off of Party Poker, which I love, but they're like, you have to show us a newspaper at your St. Kitts residence and X, Y, all this X, Y, and Z for security. I was randomly picked as the guy to show the thing. And I'm like, it's a fucking pandemic. St. Kitts won't let you in there. So, you know what I mean? Like that got put on hold. Right. But they really loved when Phil and I called each other while we were playing. Right. And so, the poker, we're always looking for ways to make the poker product as entertainment and watching the match for people who are fans of poker more interesting, more entertaining. And so we're both going to endeavor to do that. So we're open to suggestions. We're talking to people. We're going to try and work with both our schedules. I mean, obviously his schedule is a little bit more open than mine to make it the most entertaining as possible and not just, a bunch of numbers on the screen and pots, etc. So
questions coming in. Can we anticipate perhaps some whole card open delayed streams?
Yeah, we would. That will definitely happen.
Wow. I mean, come on, everyone in the chat. This is pretty exciting. Show some love to Bill and MJ here on the show, telling us all these stories, getting into the weeds here on Heads Up Poker, on the studying tool, hybridpoker.com. Go check that out. It's a very exciting time for poker. Live poker is coming back. PokerGO is offering next week, by the way. We got Phil Hellmuth versus Daniel Negreanu round 2 on High Stakes Duel. By the way, Bill, I've been meaning to ask you this. Thank you for coming on the show, by the way. What I want to know is at what point in High Stakes Duel, so when the stakes keep doubling, does it pique your interest to get in there? Because for the people unaware of this format, real quick, starts with a 50K match, then we go 100, 200, 400, 800, until someone wins 3 in a row. So this is pretty intense. Bill, have you been paying attention? And what's your minimum buy-in?
I've been paying loose attention. I think it's changed, right? Because now once you start to appreciate the nuances of the game, you play it for the love of the game, right? Before, when I was clicking buttons, I just wanted the fix. I wanted a little heroin fix. I was like, I'm not allowed to gamble in my work, right?
Right.
So poker is great because I get to gamble, right? Like that was the fix, right? And it was more like, let's go gamble, have some fun, etc. But now that I'm learning the game at a deeper level, and it's more nuanced, all stakes interest me, right? It's kind of weird, right? Because I'm like, oh, what is he doing? Like, I'm learning and like, is that right? And it's infinitely complex. So you always gonna have a new scenario and you'll be like, is that a thing? That's not a thing. Let's run a solve. Holy shit, it's a fucking thing at this frequency. Okay, what frequency? Okay, well, you know what I mean? And so there's so many questions to be asked and answered that my interest has gone up at even lower stakes, if that makes sense.
What you're also saying is that there are no stakes high enough for you to say no in a heads-up format.
Yeah, I mean, there are. I mean, they're bigger games like, Dan and some of those guys in these LA games are playing some stakes that I'm just like, huh? What? You know what I mean? I know I'm not that good. I can't goof off at that level. Like there are levels and levels, right? And so I think, because I have a philosophy of the money is for maximum net fulfillment and not for racking up your bank account, I tend to spend a lot of money visibly in converting them into experiences that I want to have. So people assume I have a lot more money than I actually have, right? And that just kind of sticks with you. It's like, I'm not a fucking billion. I'm not even close. Like, where is this coming from? But it's coming from the fact that I'm firing, right? Because I'm not one of these guys that wants to die with a bunch of zeros in my bank account. Shit, I don't even want to have a bunch of zeros in my bank account when I'm 75. Like, what the fuck am I? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be doing some things, but like most of the things that I love to do or whatever, I'm going to be, my attitude, aptitude, ability is going to change, right? I'm going to really just want to hang out with my grandkids. Hopefully, I have grandkids, knock on wood, So I'm firing, and people are like, he's fucking really rich, and I'm like, no, I am not, dude. I am not. I am just firing. I'm on model for my life to get the maximum fulfillment, and so there are plenty of stakes where I'm just like, I'll pass.
Right. But of course, my point being, going back to High Stakes Duel, that's a heads up sit and go format. You only have to win, 3 in a row and 2 in a row in the later stages. If it gets to, they
don't have stakes. They haven't designed stakes in this format that I'm not wanting to sit down at. I'll sit down with anybody at these stakes. You know what I mean?
On record, ladies and gentlemen, on record, high stakes duel,
You got me, Bill. You got me.
Boom, locked in.
And listen, like one of the things, like it's painful. I'm not going to tell you the last 7,000 hands what my big blinds per 100 are against MJ. That's a trade secret. But you know, like Star Wars, man, everybody wants to take down the teacher, right? Like it's like, you know, I'm gonna be Darth Vader and take down Obi-Wan. You know, so like I would love. I don't care if it's a little bit of variance that goes my way that gets me there. I fucking want to take his ass down.
Like, we would be playing in a live environment. You fucking.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I'll tell you what. If this were to actually happen, I won't look at every fifth hand. And you got me.
Yeah, and actually, I think that's probably going to make it close to fair. You'll still be a favorite, but I'll be close to fair. I mean, the problem is that whether you believe it or not or whatever, it could just be me because I spew a ton of live leaks and tells, or he's the fucking goat wizard at live reading, and I'm kind of drawing dead live. You know what I mean? Like what I would like to do is be in a booth on the other side. He'd be on the booth, and you can see our faces live, but he can't see me. Then, you know, that would be actually a more fair thing to do. But hell, I don't care. I want to beat fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi. Take his ass fucking down.
We got some more hybrid poker questions coming in. I'll get those to you in a second, MJ. Bill, also getting questions coming in. I'll paraphrase saying, what are the best things to waste/fire money on from your perspective? What have you learned as far as things that people need to spend on if they have the money to do it?
I mean, that's a deeply personal thing. Like I'm always say, like, I do not tell people what to spend their money on. I tell them how to model their life to get the most of it. I tell them to get the fuck off autopilot, identify those things, then model them so we maximize it throughout your life curve, right? With respect to your wealth, your health, and credit. For me personally, if you're going to talk about it with me, right? And as I look and I use some of the looking back in my life or whatever, the happiest times in my life were when I was with friends and interpersonal relationships in new environments, learning together and experiencing the world. Right. So for me, that's travels, that's big dinners, that's parties and environments. That's when I had speakers. I used to have the Perkins dinner series, and we invite interesting people to come talk about their book. David Thorne-Wilsing, Stein, Barry Scheck, you know, whatever. Like, and they would, and you just fucking learn. Brene Brown came and spoke at a dinner club, right? And that was just like, everybody still talks about that shit. That shit was like 5 or 6, 7 years ago. I'm still getting enjoyment from those events happening. And so those type of events are where I'm like, this is where you should be funneling your money, right? Like I just bought a vacation home and I was like, well, you know, I'm not thinking it, but like it's producing a return every fucking day. You know, my kids are at that age where they're like, Dad, you're a nerd. You're not cool. You're so annoying. You know what I mean? Like whatever. But I got this place where they're like, can me and 20 of my friends come down or whatever? And I'm like, hey, I'll take my time with my daughters any way I can get it, right? So I can get those memories, et cetera, and experiences and those touches. And so, you know, spending money on gets you the touches in different environments and add some randomness and learning into it, that's where you should focus your money.
And,
you know,
and carry
that for me, like if you're a person like me, and it's like, you know, I went on a trip. You know, when I go on a trip, it's like Wonderland. It's like, oh my God, this is the culture. Oh my God, this is people. This exists. How could I not fucking know about this, right? You know, because I'm inundated with you know, this in my bubble and whatever. And when I get out of that bubble, it's like really great. And so for me, it's travel with people you like and love and meeting new people.
And karaoke.
It's funny because Bill.
Yes, karaoke it just comes with you wherever you go.
It's funny because like we coach Bill in poker, right? But he coaches me and my partner Matt how to be rich and how to enjoy life. Like, so a very quick story. This was 4 years ago, 3 years ago. I was playing the 50K or 25K at Aria, and he goes, yo, we're flying to the VI, you're coming. And I'm like, dude, please, I don't want to go. He's like, no, you fucking need, because I have a major fear of flying. He was like, no, you need culture. You need to experience. So no, I don't fly to save my life. It got to the point where I was like, Bill, can I just give you $50,000 to not go? Like, I don't want to go. And he goes, fucking no, you're fucking coming, and that is it. So we get to the tarmac, it's on his fucking private jet. He sets up a fucking queen size bed for me. And I take a Xanax that he gives me. We fucking get there. Everything's fine. We stay there. It was an experience that I never would have had before, right? So he's like teaching me like, no, your world is so much bigger than your tiny bubble, right? So then on the way back, I have to take another Xanax because I'm certainly scared and nervous. We stop in Miami to get back in through customs. We played private poker at Bill's house when we were in the VI, so I have a ton of fucking chips on me. We get to the stop in Miami and we have to go through customs. I'm high as a fucking kite. And the guy asked, do you have anything that you're not supposed to have? And I was like, oh, you mean these? And I pull out a fucking bag of flags and cranberries. Bill pushes me to the side and goes, MJ, shut the fuck up. And Bill's assistant gets in front of me, and I'm just sitting there like, what? I'm high as a kite. I don't fucking know. Turns out it was funny. Everyone laughed, and there was no big deal. But, like, Bill's the kind of guy that will impose his will if he knows it's good for you in a way that isn't overbearing. And so, like, another very quick example, we were playing heads up in Ivy's room years ago, and I was beating him, and he was really tilted that I kept taking breaks because I was smoking cigarettes. So I go take breaks, and he got to the point where he was so fucking tilted. He was like, look, bro, $200,000 says you can't quit smoking cigarettes for a year. And I think about it, and I go, fuck, I can't say no. Let's fucking go. And come to find out, he didn't make the actual bet. Some of it was because he was tilted. But the majority of it was coming from like, no, dude, I want you in my life. I want you healthy. You're my friend. Like, you mean something to me, so I want you to be healthier for you and your own family as well. And because of that, like it was like 1 month away from me winning the bet. I was a lock. There's no way I could win. So I go to Bill's house and I go, hey, look, dude, I know you did this for my health and out of our friendship. So I'm going to let you buy out for like $60,000 or $70,000. And he was like, all right, man, you got it. And then he was like, well, 60 or 70. I go, we'll flip a quarter for the 10. And of course I lose the fucking coin flip. So I let him buy out. But the motivation behind it was, you know, he just wants to see me thrive and live my full. It's the same thing he did with Jamie Staples and numerous other fucking bets, right? So like that kind of mindset really coaches me and my partner to one, not only be better humans, but also use our resources to our benefit of our lives, right? Not just fucking be a squirrel and keep it all in our tree, right? Like we are fucking firing on everything we can fire on that's going to have a net present value in our life.
Yeah, and that has the other thing is like people say, oh, why you do this about Jamie, whatever, because it has a ripple, right? Like Jamie has impacted other people's lives and out there, and he has understanding, and his brother, Matt. So, you know, just has a ripple effect on other people. And it's like the logic of it is crazy because he gets more than fucking $200,000 of value for his life, not smoking cigarettes, right? Like the bet should not be the motivator, but humans are really, really bad with small incremental changes that drive you to disaster, right? Right? They're just really bad, right? Like they're just really, really bad at what I call net present valuing because we aren't designed for that, right? We're designed to run from fucking tigers and shit and instant gratification and instant safety, right? Things that like, and he's vaping right now. He's not smoking a cigarette. I know that people might say that, right? Like this is what we got him on now. We moved him off the tobacco and the polonium in his lungs. So at least we're not putting polonium in his lungs and the radiation. And so, you know, that kind of thinking, that net present value and modeling your life and the net impact of it, like that's kind of basically what Die with Zero is about. It's about die with zero regrets, right? And how do we model our lives? And so that's why I do it. You know, I'm not running around all the time with strangers and even other people that I love. I want to have a ripple and have this spread like wildfire, and that just not even like the thing, but the thinking.
Right.
But that's why, Perkins. It took me a while to have that click because in the beginning I was like, I'm just gonna fucking win $200K. I'm $200,000 richer, fucking great. But that wasn't what this was about, and that's why I came to him and said, dude, I'm just gonna let you buy out because you're drawing fucking dead. Because the point was so many other variables, right? And like it took a while for that to click and sink in because Perkins is right. It goes against all of our basic instincts.
I mean, Bill, let me just tell you this right now. The betting aspect of improving someone's life is the only thing that is preventing me from sitting here in front of you guys and not weighing 300 pounds. Some of you guys might have seen the photos on Twitter. Back in 2011, my boss at the time offered me a weight loss bet to basically go from 128 kilos down to 100, and every kilo I got below 100, I would get $500. I got down to like 93, made a bunch of money, ballooned back up, back and forth, huge swings. I've made probably 5 or 6 weight loss bets over the course of my life, and right now I'm pretty healthy, but I've gained a little bit again because the weight loss bet that I was on ended 3 weeks ago. So now I'm struggling again because I have this insane food addiction. It's just really stupid. But as you were saying, the only thing that's keeping me from ballooning up again, and I'm about like 175 pounds right now. You know, I'm healthy for my sort of realm of the world in all sorts of contexts. But the funny thing is, as soon as the bet ends, it is like a cocaine habit, and I'm on the brink, and I'm just struggling, and I'm reaching out to friends, you know, Adam Swartz and Max Greenwood and Andrew Barber and Max Silver. Can we make more bets? Because my health is tied to this punishment, and if I don't have it, I'm at the bakery having not 1 croissant, but 4, and all that sort of stuff. Explain that to me, Bill. Why can't I stay on the straight and narrow?
I mean, easification is such a huge factor in behavior. The more difficult a task is, the less likely it's going to be done, and the easier it is. Click this button. Oh, you have an alert. You have an email. Check your phone, right? Like this is how we get the behavior, right? So it is so easy for you to buy 4 croissants. There's carbs and sugars all around you all the freaking time. They make it so easy for you to do this, and they're tapping into your natural weaknesses, right? And your natural what's going on. So you have to be vigilant, and being vigilant is very difficult, right? And we also are very bad with net present value. It's just a small change, right? So you're like, all of a sudden, how did I gain 50 fucking pounds, right? You wake up one day, you look at yourself in the mirror, you're like, where the fuck? You know what I mean? And so this is how, you know, people kill themselves and rob themselves of their lives. So, you know, you're trying to find a structure of small habits and prompts to remind you to stay on the path,
right,
and small changes, etc. So you can design it like behavior. A lot of people beat themselves up and they're like, oh, well, I'm fat or I'm lazy and whatever. I'm like, you're just not designing for behavior. So for you, you know, there are many different designs you can have. You need to design the bet so that it's long lasting, recurring, and over many years. So you need a 10-year.
What do you think about this, though? Because I think there is a fundamental flaw in incentives, right? Like I think it's kind of creating a pattern within yourself to be motivated by a prize or a reward, right? So I think one, understanding, internalizing you needing to do X or Y or Z because of an incentive, I think that fundamentally breaks. Would you agree with that?
I mean, you can't, though. Incentives work, right? Like the incentive should be, I want to be healthy, live a long life, spend time with my friends and loved ones as long as possible, and getting the most value out of those days, right? Not have to have fucking knee surgery 15 years from now because I've been 15, 20 pounds overweight, et cetera. But that doesn't work. That incentive doesn't work. So he needs to find a more present incentive. But if he has,
I read articles about kids, right? Like when you're trying to discipline them or get them to do X, Y, or Z, using incentives actually backfires because of the way the human brain is actually wired. And it's wired to create patterns. This is why we see animals in the sky when we look up at the clouds, et cetera. Our brain is trying to create patterns. And we program ourselves to have this pattern throughout our life. And what you're doing is you're just going right back to the pattern that you have stage 4. There are 4 stages of learning. And once you've cemented that stage 4 learning, it's kind of in your DNA. So that's why I always kind of thought incentives broke that. And designing atomic habits, like maybe you should read the book Atomic Habits, or another book that Bill was referring to. But designing a platform for you to make small steps to fundamentally change the way you're wiring and programmed.
Right, but
right.
let me.
So the structure, right? So that structure of your bet is too short.
Yeah.
So if you did a 10-year bet,
right,
okay, with repeated habits of check-ins and stuff like that, then you have to develop sub-habits in that. Like I have a sticky that tells me this. I have an alert system that prompts me on MyFitnessPal to do X, Y, and Z. You know, check in this or whatever, and this awareness, and create these cycles until it's like I'm automatically doing it.
But isn't it?
Like I auto check Twitter now,
right,
because of the fucking alert system. Even though I don't have the alert, I put it on my second page so I don't go it on anymore. But they fucking created that tiny habit that now I repeat, that I check fucking Twitter.
But isn't it great you can call it a hack, you can call it whatever you want. Isn't it great that I can prioritize not wanting to lose money over not wanting to get fat? And when that sort of priority order shifts because there's the bet ends or whatever it is, then all of a sudden I let loose again. So when I look to myself in the mirror and I'm struggling to not eat snacks, but I am not doing it because of this penalty, I'm like, I'm really happy right now because I'm much healthier. But at the same time, when I remove the bet, I am on the brink again of gaining the weight. Isn't it totally okay to be tied to that?
I don't know. I mean, like, what I would say is, like, I don't whatever. Let's do what works. There's works and doesn't work.
Right.
So, like, will it work to do a 5-year bet? Will it work to do a 10-year bet?
Yeah.
You know?
Probably, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, where you get taxed that, you know, it's monthly weigh-ins forever for the rest of your life, and it's out to this amount. And it's enough of a painful amount. So it's just like, fuck it, we'll force the habit. We'll just design the system so you get the result. I mean, there's timing habits, there's atomic habits, there's all kinds of other things, but I'm like, it's a design contest. Design it so it works for your life. Yeah. I don't care what the fuck it is. I don't care if you have to wear a tutu and a banana in your ear, and that's what works. If it works, it works, right? Like, so if I'm speculating, but I believe that if you change the format of your bet, since you respond to these bets and you elongate them, then we're never going to have this break.
Right.
You kind of changed your makeup. You changed your programming, right? Things that were important to you or you had priorities for change. It's just like when you're 15 to when you're 25, right? Your priorities are no longer the same. When you're 25 to 35, your priorities are no longer the same. Your programming is no longer the same. So executing at the stage 1, 2, 3, 4 level, recognizing what is what, recognizing where your programming breaks and flaws are. That's what helped me anyway, right? And Bill's the one that literally broke all this down for me because I had a ton of fucking roadblocks, right? So it was just understanding that the human brain is effectively a computer, and programming it the way that you need to work optimally is the goal. And I personally needed something more than just short spurts of something. I needed a complete rewrite of my programming. Sorry, guys. I know that we're supposed to be here for heads up, but when you get Perkins and Remko, it's a podcast. I apologize.
It is a podcast, and for people who are wondering what the F is going on here, yes, this is called Run It Back. We usually tend to go back in time and watch old school footage or even stuff from recent times and break it down and get into it. But we got Bill Perkins and MJ here in the house. And
how about this? This is a 3-bet pot. Doug's going to be continuing on this flop a ton with small bets and sometimes some large bets. He's going to be mixing, but mostly small bets. Daniel absolutely is just going to be calling here the majority of the time. He's going to have very infrequent raises. Turn, it's going to go check from Doug the majority of the time, especially on this queen. And then Daniel's going to decide the size and he's going to want to continue it. So anyway, back to what we were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. No, but the beauty of this podcast and having two bright minds such as yourself on the show is that it allows me to throw some of my crazy mind shit out there and get some feedback, and I really appreciate it from you guys. For the people in the chat, we're live on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. Please send in those questions. I do see you guys out there. It's just too hot tonight on the show to get a word in sometimes, and it's just been really, really fun to do this show and dive in deeper.
Well, the crazy thing about this, though, Remko, is like, a lot of this is directly correlated to poker. You know, how you study, how you execute, how you apply, like what are your methods, etc. How you even think, like the metacognition, the art of thinking about thinking in itself has so much weight and value. I don't think a lot of people understand.
Yeah, right? Let me dial this in, right? Like I want to thank my Matt and MJ is that they've easified it, not only just in their program, but just making their time available to me to just like WhatsApp them and be like, let's fucking battle. WhatsApp them, let's do hand review. So like after all the battles, I send them the hand history and we go through all the significant spots, right? We go through all the hands. So we've like you said, we've gone through probably 13,000 hands, right? And I'm learning, and that's made the process easy for me. So it's not just that they're intelligent or they're wizards, one's a computer wizard and one's a wizard. It's the fact that they're making their time available to me and making it easy for me to learn just by making themselves available. So I want to thank them for that. And I also want to say, people asking questions. Let's give the fucking people what they want. Let's answer some questions. God damn it. Let's stop blathering. Get some more questions.
Okay, here's a question. Can you ask these guys which drugs they take that aren't harmful?
I actually don't drink alcohol and I take 0 drugs. Nothing.
All right.
Okay.
Are we?
I didn't drink drugs. Didn't drink alcohol until I was 21. I'm not a big drinker. Everybody knows that to me. And I've never done any drug until 48 because in my life model, I was like, I am not going to die and not experience these things. Okay. It's going to happen. And I was going to wait till I was 50. And I said, you know what? Fuck it. Now's the time. I could die before then. I've accomplished the things I need to. The risk is very low in terms of interfering with my career path or something like that. I'm going to experiment.
Was it worth the experiment?
Yeah, I think alcohol is the absolute in the drugs I've tried. I'll never try cocaine or any of that kind of crap. But of the drugs I've tried, they're all significantly better. So obviously,
psychedelics.
No, I would say by far, I think mushrooms are the absolute nuts. The microdosing or whatever. And I was like, when I finally tried marijuana, I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Why did I ever drink? Like, this is so dumb. Like, why was I drinking? And I've had that. I had a whatever they call like the bad trip where you're paranoid and you think the masseuse is going to kill you and you're hiding in the bathroom and the funny stories, right? Like I've had that thing, but my mind asked so many crazy questions, and I was like, I'm discovering the questions, and that's that. And I love it. So, I don't know if they're good for you. I'm not going to say anything is good for you. It depends on where you're at in your stage of life, moderation, whatever, and stuff like that. But the science and the research with psilocybin, I can't even say psilocybin, right? Is pretty much consistent and overwhelming that there's many benefits associated with it. So I think that's probably rapidly going to be the one that's legalized, at least for treatment of PTSD, depression, and other uses, aside from the recreational, like get you in touch and losing your ego and stuff like that.
So like mine's a little different. My reasoning, like I actually decided at a very young age, my parents, my dad was gone, but my mom was a druggy alcoholic. So I saw like the negative side of that. And so I decided at a very, very young age that I was not going to let anything get in the way of my success. And I just saw so many, horror stories of drugs and alcohol and, misperm and all this stuff. And I was like, you know what? That ain't going to be me. I'm going to focus on literally everything I can to be successful. That's it. I'm not going to let anything get in my way. And that's kind of why I chose that. And then it got to the point where I just don't see the upside. To me, there's more downside. Now, I'm not talking about smoking weed. There's absolutely unlimited documentation that there is tons of upside. But as far as like cocaine and all this shit, to me, it's all downside.
Yeah, I did a lot of research. The funny thing is I tell you a funny story because I was a teetotaler. Like I was as square as they come, right? Coming from Jersey City. Like I was just like, I've seen too much, like MJ, too much death and destruction and people just like not living up to their potential because of the distractions or the side effects of these drugs. And so I went to Burning Man and it's like, oh my God, there's art and it's fun and there's community, but it is fucking a lot of drug culture, right? And I had all this peer pressure, right, to try these drugs. And it was so strong that one night I wasn't there with my girlfriend. I was like, I don't want to do this without her. What if I take this thing and it makes me out of integrity or whatever? They call her up on the phone in these costumes. There's like half naked men, about 9 of them in my trailer trying to convince me to do drugs. I'm like, no, I'm not here with my girlfriend. They call my girlfriend. Antonio's like, he's got to try this, whatever. I'm like hoping she says no. She's like, well, if he's not going to be on integrity, it's okay. I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do this right now. I'm not ready. And, they're up all night. They went to take a nap. I fucking called in a helicopter and got the fuck out of Dodge because I knew they would eventually prevail and convince me to do something. So I helicoptered after fucking one day in Burning Man out of Dodge to not do any drugs, right? Only to a year later be like, okay, I'm ready to try, but that's how serious I took it. And, if you're a high school student, right, and your friend's always trying to get you to drink and do stuff, the peer pressure is unfucking believable. But I was just fortunate enough, at least one of the benefits of having a very big, beefy, beat your ass down, strict dad from the 50s, right, was you were scared of that. And two, he was very independent, strong-willed guy, and that some of that transferred to me. And I like a lot of people like, I don't give a fuck what you think, right? I was very much like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. There's no like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, say what you want. You tell me you love me or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't, there's no angle you're going to come at me that's going to get me to do what I did, not on my terms and my model for my life.
I'll hit a few more quick questions before I let you guys both go, but this has been really exciting. MJ, question coming in from Brent Hanks. How much to stop vaping forever?
I don't know.
I love that one. That's awesome.
I legitimately
going next level on vaping.
Yeah, I legitimately don't know. Like, it's quite literally my only vice now. And I'm a kind of an anxious person, like with the quarantine and the pandemic and my heads up match is coming up. Like, let's not get it fucking twisted. I'm scared. I'm scared to go fucking play the high stakes against some of the best players in the world. I'm not just coming in thinking I'm the best. Like, I think I have a fucking chance to murder him. And I'm going to try my best, but I'm absolutely scared. I question and doubt myself every single day, 20 times a day. And like, it seems to me like this is my pacifier, right? So to answer your question, I have no fucking clue. I mean, if Bill legitimately said, all right, 200K bet right now to quit, I would turn it down. Right at this point in time right now.
Right.
So the answer is I just don't know.
Right. And the beauty of this is you're also afraid to say a number and have Bill snap call.
Yes. 100%.
I'm just sitting here fucking like ready to make the wager.
No, not right now. I have too much on my plate and I'm too anxious right now. I'm scared.
Probably the best question that we got tonight. And thank you, Baba Yaga on YouTube. This is an excellent question. He says, question for MJ. If Magnus Carlsen, for those living under a rock, best chess player in the world, maybe the best chess player of all time, decided to study hybrid poker, would he become or have the potential to be the best poker player ever?
He would be up there, yes. The way his mind functions and the way the framework of his thought process fires, the way that he formulates thoughts and strategies and counter strategies, it's not close. He would be one of the best online players. Absolutely. We would snap take him on as a private client. He's actually Bill's friend.
Well, I mean, I play in a fish game where, I with a bunch of chess nits on Zoom when the pandemic started. That was started by Lawrence Trent. And so there's some like AI guys and there's some, some chess nits. I call them chess nits because they're so fucking nitty. You know what I mean? I'm coming in a splash and they're being nitty and we torch each other. So I mean, I know him and we're acquaintance from that introduction from Lawrence Trent, but like, it's not, it's been a pandemic. So I haven't had the pleasure of palling around and roaming the streets of any town with him. But yeah,
he would be one of the best theoretically sound poker players online. Live, I think he'd get eaten alive. I just don't think he has the social aspects of this.
Huh.
And that falls true to a lot of poker players. I thoroughly believe this. And Bill, you can either confirm or deny. I think that 95% of elite poker players at the top tier have never been in a good poker game before. Period. I think what they deem as good poker games is not what me and Bill deem as good poker games. And I think it's because of the social dynamics and all the social protocols. I think it's because of their life choice of wanting to be known as the best or just wanting to make the money. I think that's a decision and a fork in the road for every single poker player. Do I want fame or do I want money? And I think they're vastly different paths. So I truly believe that most poker players haven't been in a great poker game.
Yeah, that's true. And I get like, I had a couple conversations and there's these trolls of Dan, right? Of like doubting his claim of that he made X dollars in poker. And I'm just like, you guys have no fucking clue. Like even the pros, right? Like some of the pros, they know they can't get these games. And even when I tell pros and like whatever, I'm like, the one drop is an evening. You know what I mean? In some of these games, right? And you don't get into that by being the world's best guy on TV, whatever, right? You get in that because people enjoy your company and want to hang out with you, and they're okay gambling and mucking it up, right? And so it's hard to know that when you're a young kid going out trying to make it in the streets and battling and learning that this is going to be the more lucrative career path, right? Of hanging out. And honestly, the for me, and I've said this several times, like the real value of poker is the networking. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, this is not the big business, right? Like, guys are punting in Bitcoin making way more than any poker player, right? And so, like, you see there's other markets and stuff out there and business deals, et cetera, that are bigger than poker. And a lot of poker players got exposed to Bitcoin and are now immensely wealthy, right? Because they are associated with poker. And that's just one single little example of the power of poker to bring minds together and create opportunity sets. And so, yes, there's an opportunity set to make, life-changing money on the felt, et cetera, for a very few people or whatever. But the real life-changing new relationships with interesting people and solving problems and making money by solving those problems.
Look, and there's a fundamental flaw a fundamental logic thought process that breaks immediately with elite poker players. Poker is a long-term thing. So in the private game, you have to be okay and willing to take the worst of it in the now to get the best of it in the long run. You have to flip. Like, there's been many times where one of the whales is stuck 10 buy-ins and he's like, fuck this, I'm quitting because he's not enjoying it. And so I'm like, yo, let's flip. We'll do a PLO flip for any amount. And he goes, yes. And I'll throw one card away. So my 3 cards is his 4 cards. And he'll stay the rest of the night and have fun and bullshit with me. I'm willing to take the worst of it now to have a good and enjoyable game for the long run. And they know what I'm doing. There's nothing behind,
there's no hiding, right? But it's like, hey, I'm here for fucking entertainment, right? Like, I'm here for entertainment and socializing, and this has become a fucking, a poker beatdown. Well, like, you know what I mean? They're not dumb. They're not there for a poker beatdown. They're down for whatever. So the balance has to be there. But I'm just like, I just saying, like, that's there and that's it. And, poker's a great game. And that's one of the aspects of what makes poker great. Aside from the game itself and learning the game, it's bringing people together. It's a pastime. That's why golf is a great game. You go for fucking 4 or 6 hours on a damn golf course, right? With 4 people, you get to know somebody, right? And poker's even better because, that guy's over there and that guy's over here. You don't get to talk as much. But when you're in a poker, you're in a fucking room at the same table, eating food, getting massages, hanging out, talking all sorts of shit. In the games I play, I mean, those fucking things go 24, 36 hours sometimes, right?
And the funny thing is, they're fucking sharp as hell. Yeah, they're whales on the felt, but they didn't accumulate their net worth by being retards in the real world. They are sharp as fuck. They know when someone's being they're being disingenuous. They know when someone's a fake. They know, like, they're there for entertainment purposes. And if you are a pain to play with, if they have to huff and puff and fold pre-flop when they want to see flops because you're fucking 3-better folding, like, that ain't fun. So, like, you have to identify and recognize the social dynamics what's going on.
I'm going to speak for myself and my actions. It's like, we like the action, right? Like, we want the action. We want to have fun. We don't want dicks. We like interesting people. We like their stories. We like humans. Right? We like to win too. We want to win. We're competitive, but we're not going to fucking go into the fucking lab and do whatever and stuff like that, because until now, that was time consuming and very hard and difficult. And it's like easification. So, like, now these, some firms are doing easification well, and hybrids coming out, and they're it'll be the best easification you ever seen in your entire life, or it won't. But, like, that wasn't good. That's not the goal, right? They're not trying to go. They're trying to play with their buddies and win some, relatively modest money at their stakes, right? From their buddies, right?
So Bill, let me ask you this. When we talk about fun and we talk about entertainment and excitement when you're playing poker, at this point, today, April 29th, you're getting ready for this match. What's more entertaining? What's more fun? Is it applying all the new things that you've learned and crushing Landon? Or is it sitting now with 8 interesting people, sharing some food, splashing around, playing the most god-awful strategies, but just mucking around?
That's a good question.
So right now, because there are so many different neurons being incorporated in learning the game, I would say it would be this Landon challenge and what's going on, except when it's very interesting people at the poker table and the conversation is good. Because, it is just, there are more interesting things, more complex puzzles in life than just the poker game. And so if we go into that arena and that sparks a thing and we're going down and we're going to solve this thing, or we're going to investigate it together, we're going to do this business deal or whatever, that's fucking way more interesting and way more fun. right? But that has to happen, right? And that doesn't happen every time. You don't sit with the people. Like when we were playing stakes during the pandemic with Magnus, the head of Google AI, right? Dennis and Ali and Liv and Igor and whatever. That was like super fucking interesting at very low stakes because of all the fucking bullshit and shit talking we're doing towards each other, but also the side conversations that pop up in between each people. And then I get to listen or participate, right? And I'm like, that time when those conversations are popping and I'm learning about how they think about chess or this or the new fucking Google Fold AI protein thing that we're, like that, to me, that's like the juice of life, right? Like, I'm living for this shit, right? And when it's not like that, the Landon Challenge is much more interesting.
Right. Final question for you, MJ, and I've seen this one a bunch. What's the date that Hybrid Poker is launching, and are you guys going to sell merch?
Yeah, we absolutely are going to sell merch. And the date right now, we are on target for the World Series.
October 1st.
Qualifier. On target for qualifier. Programming and software, it's always like, yeah, we're going to do this, whatever. I'm like, change the fucking thing, the UI, this. Oh, fuck, that's 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Like, without fucking Bill telling us in our ear, do this, do that, do that. Like, aside from that, we are absolutely on target for the beginning of the World Series.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You guys in the chat who are asking, just follow him on Twitter, The Real MJ Poker. I'm sure he'll drop some knowledge on his Twitter page. Also, BP22, Bill Perkins, but I'm sure all of you guys were already following them. For John on Facebook, who says, man, will you guys ever shut the fuck up? No, we won't. That's the whole purpose of this whole thing. If you want to watch just poker, you go to PokerGO.com. You watch all the poker you can find. You got Bill Perkins splashing around. Super high roller cash game, high stakes poker. You can find this guy in every game. Been honestly tremendous. By the way,
that's amazing. Like somebody actually is watching and it's like a podcast that's designed for us to blather our fucking asses off and takes time out of he really doesn't value his time. It's like you must value your time at like one fucking penny or negative for you. It's just like the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. Like,
the thing that I understand is there's been at least 20 major points made that can quite literally help someone's life out. 20 from all three of us. And they choose to be like, I want to watch a match that's aired 4 months ago. Look, if you want, I will absolutely come on next week or the week after, and I will only break down all the hands that have been played that you've seen before. And I will show you exactly how deep we can get into it. If that's what you really want, I'll do it. But it's not every day that you get Perkins on a podcast and me and Remko all together, like just a meeting of the minds. It's a special thing. And like I would encourage you to take the gems out of this and apply it in your own life.
Poker fish is niche and whales are rare, but live fish are fucking everywhere. And it's the reason why I'm fucking so wealthy, right? Because other people won't go do the fucking work, won't go work on themselves, won't listen, won't take the advice, and won't apply it to their lives. They just get more value out of being snarky and feeling like they got a couple points and a little zinger and they think they're comedians. And it's just like, it's okay, dude. Occasionally, it's fun, but it's like, oh my God.
Well, speaking to that guy, what was that guy's name?
John.
So, John, I want you to know this, and I mean this sincerely. I'm not against you in any way. John, it's just me and you here. No one else is here. Every single elite reg that I know or you've seen on TV, text this asshole for advice privately. Listen to what he has to say. I promise you, you'll be for the better.
Oh man, I love it. I love that even MJ and Bill Perkins get so fired up from a single Facebook comment. The social media world just triggers everyone to levels.
Look, we love everybody, right? Because there's John, and I mean we're kind of singling out John, and we should. I mean, I guess we have to, like, as an example. But John is in all of us, right? I've been John. You've been John. MJ's been John, right? Like we've all been that guy, and it's like we need to be less of that guy, right? But
And we're also incredibly passionate about everything that we do. Like, I have a fundamental belief. If I'm going to do anything, I'm giving my fucking heart to it. That's it. And so, like, I do get intense and passionate about talking about poker, learning, accelerating, executing, evolving. Like, those are all really important to me. So apologies if I come off a bit too intense. It just means the world to me.
I mean, we all have great levels of intensity on this podcast, and I do appreciate you guys for coming on. We need to do this again. Bill and MJ, can I lock you guys in that after the first match versus Landon, the first how many hours or how many days you guys want to call this first sort of segment, can we hop on and just shoot the shit for an hour?
Yes.
I'm gonna go with a high possible.
Okay.
Like we just didn't schedule.
I'll wrangle this motherfucker up if I have to.
Yeah, you
We'll
fucking
together.
get your rope up, toss it around, wrangle me down.
Well,
I mean that, Remko. I absolutely will come on again, just me if you want, and I will break down every fucking hand to its inner core. In a way,
you don't want me on the fucking. If you're gonna do core, I mean, you can have me on or whatever, but like it's
no,
you don't want me on, right? Because we're gonna go on these fucking tangents, and people who are just all I want to talk about right now is poker and poker hands. They're gonna be livid, right? So
I don't care.
We should put like one of those warnings, like a cigarette label. Bill Perkins is on. We might go deep into tangents.
I mean, people know that when they listen to my podcast, the questions are going to be deep. They're going to be hard hitting and they're going to be on point. So that's what we're going to deliver. We're going to have fun with it. I want to thank you guys right now.
Wait. We need 2 more questions, man. People have been watching this fucking show. We didn't get any more questions in.
Okay. By the way, not that this is my fault. We have a beautiful Texas stream. Brent Hanks has been trying to get you out there. Lone Star Poker Series in Houston. They're streaming live on the same channel in 20 minutes. So we do gotta hurry up a little bit to get them in.
All
there.
right, we can hurry up, but people been waiting to ask these fucking questions, man. We gotta give the fucking people what they want.
Let me scroll back.
Let's do this. We'll keep it at 15 seconds and answer.
Yeah. Good.
Okay. I found. Okay. For MJ, I got a question. He says, why didn't Negreanu stop after 12,500 hands? Did he think he was gonna make a comeback against Doug Polk?
He absolutely thought he was going to make a comeback, and it was also about his progression. This was about him. It was his own journey. He wanted to fight till the death, and that's exactly what he did because he's a fucking warrior. And that's what all of us do at the highest level. So I respect him for it.
Bill, is it true that you can beat 5K NL, so 2550 online after studying on hybrid poker?
I mean, I don't know. I believe my coach's assessment of me. So, the correct answer is I don't know because I'm not playing 2550. I'm preparing for this match. But I would have to say that my knowledge of the game is light fucking years ahead of any concept I've had it just even 2 months ago.
MJ, is hybrid poker pre-solved software that anyone can run on their phone? How will that work?
So to get into the intricacies of it, it's a lot more complex and detailed than that. So we'll go ahead and next.
Yeah, but you will be able to use it on your mobile app. How about that?
100%. You can use it on your iPad, phone, computer, whatever. You can fucking ring us up and we'll walk you through it if we have to.
Good. MJ, is there anyone you would say no against to play heads up for $1 million?
Anyone in my camp.
Okay, so anyone outside of your circle is good to go.
Yes, live. You got me.
Question for Bill: could you make the match between MJ and Phil Ivey happen?
Please.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not. I know people who know Phil very well and whatever. We'll see. I could try.
Please do.
A lot of questions I already tackled organically, which I'm very proud of, to say the least. Let's see what else we got here. Brent Hanks asking, Bill Perkins, can you please come to Houston to play in the Lone Star main event?
When is that? I don't know when that is,
okay.
But it's a maybe, but nobody takes my summer.
No, it's literally the starting days are today, tomorrow, and Saturday is the last starting flight.
Oh shit! Lara's out of town. She's got a job dancing for J-Lo for something. So I actually may be able to go over there and play something.
There we go. Brent Hanks. Oh, Brent Hanks says Bill Perkins, get over here right now and play on shrooms is what he's saying. Bill Perkins. Which interesting person would you like to play heads up?
Oh, wow. I know Andy Beal.
Oh, beautiful. That would be incredible to watch. Okay, I'm scrolling through the comments. I think we tackled most of the ones that are quick hitters that we can tackle. Okay, guys, we got to wrap it up. Thank you so much once again for being on the show. Thanks everyone for watching. Please like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I'll be back next week. Get this, with Stephanie Unger, the daughter of Stu Unger, on this show, watching the 1981 and 1997 WSB main event, talking about her father's life, his legacy, and how it all affected her. I get chills talking about it right now. I'm very, very honored to have her on the show. I will have Mr. MJ and Mr. Perkins back on the show at some point. You guys, thanks so much for watching. You guys, thanks for being on the show. This was Run It Back. Catch you guys all next week, Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. It's going to be Stephanie Unger. You guys, peace out.